Hi everyone, I'm Diana DeRosa. I'm co-organizer of the Equestrian Festival. And right now I have Mario Contreras with us. And I'm actually going to let Mario talk a little bit about himself and medieval times.
That is right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here at the FEI World Equestrian Games 2018. I'm the head horse trainer for Medieval Times in Chicago. And I'm also the head horse trainer of MC Horse Training LLC in Chicago as well. And very happy to be here. I've been with Medieval Times for 28 years. I started in 1990 when I was a little kid. I train horses and riders from scratch. And then we prepare them, we get them ready for the show. I don't know if you know a little bit about Medieval Times. It's a dinner and tournament. While you're watching the show, you get to see our guys, our people dress up from the 11th century. So we have a 2-hour show where you get to eat and drink at the same time that you are watching the show. In the show, we have not just jousting and medieval fights, we also have what we call high school, Alta Escuela Española, and airs above the ground. So we have horses. Our main breed is Andalusians. Medieval Times, we are one of the biggest breeding farms in the U.S. In Chaco Creek Ranch in Texas. As a matter of fact, I was just there 2 days ago, and we were checking all the babies and all the horses. We usually get our horses when they're 3 years old in each location. Medieval Times, we have now 8 castles in the U.S. and 1 in Canada. And the new one that will be opening next year in Arizona. So we get our horses when they're 3 years old. The first 3 years old, they just spend it at the barn, being horses. And then after that, we bring them to each castle, which they're going to be, we break them. We do small little things to start preparing for the new parts of the show. And the new parts of the show, when they first start, just introducing, we do the first, depends on the horses, Sometimes some horses, they tolerate, people screaming, the lights, the sound. And we can put them in the show actually very early, I will say 3 months. But some horses, sometimes they take between 6 months to 8 months to a year. We don't put a time frame. We always make sure that the horses are ready and prepared for what they're going to be doing in the future. After the first part, introducing the horse to the show, we start actually choosing what the horse is going to be doing. Which in our show, we our first segment, which is long lines, where we do Spanish walk, piaffe, passage, levats, hind walk, cabrioles, corvettes, all the fancy stuff. But that will be, I will say, 3, 4, 5 years down the road on their training. We actually get them, prepared and fit for what they're going to be doing. We also have a spot in the show which is liberty. We let the horse, run around free, and then we do some liberty work with him doing levats, bows, during the show as well. Another one, we have a 8-horse carousel, which we have all stallions, so performing at the same time. And that's where we perform for the queen, in this case. 8 stallions doing, military maneuvers. Back in the day, where horses were trained to kill people. Nowadays, of course, horses are not a weapon anymore, and you'll see them doing all these fancy maneuvers. And then after that, we have our solo. In the solo, we do Alta Escuela, combination of Doja Vaquera, Alta Escuela, and of course dressage. Where the horse performs canter pirouettes, flying changes, canter pirouettes, Spanish walk, piaffe, passage, all the fancy stuff. We present that. That will be a gift for our queen. And this time we have this year we change our show every 5 years in Medieval Times. And this time, this is the first time in the history that we, before it used to be the prince, the king and queen, and now we have the queen who rules actually the whole thing at the Medieval Times. In my part for a horse trainer on the side of Medieval Times, besides doing exhibition, I'm also a competitive dressage rider, which I love dressage since I was, I actually got my first pony when I was 4 years old. So I've been riding my whole life, and now that I have the opportunity to ride competitive, I've been competing pretty much all year round doing dressage and starting horses as well from scratch. Now I'm in Equestrian events. That's our new barn in Chicago, Illinois, where I have my facility and my training methods that I teach everybody. I want to say hi to everybody from Chicago, Illinois. That's where Equestrian event is at, and all my students and courses and everybody that is over there.
So Mario, I want to step back a little bit, and I want to talk about when you came and started with medieval times, what that was like in the beginning and the transitions as you went along. I know that I saw you for the first time at the 2010 World Equestrian Games in Kentucky, so I'm sure there were a lot of little changes along the way. So go back to the very beginning when you started with medieval times. How did you get involved, and then where you are today?
Well, it's been a very fun experience. I grew up with my dad. He's the one who introduced us to the horses from the very beginning. So when I came to the U.S. in 1990, my brother Marcial, he was already working for Medieval Times since '87. So I was on vacation, and he asked me to come and join Medieval Times. So at first I said no because I was on vacation, but he asked me to come and see the show. And as soon as I saw the show, I fell in love with it, and they hired me, and I never left. So that tells you that Medieval Times has always been number one for me. Medieval Times gives you the opportunity to grow. In the beginning, I did not start as a head horse trainer. I started just training stalls, just like everybody. And I've been riding since I was little, so I knew how to do a lot of the stuff that they were already doing in the show. But at that time, our head trainer, Don Victor de Lara, the head horse trainer who came from Spain with the company, he gave me the opportunity to start with him. And I started just growing horses, cleaning stalls, and then I walked a little bit, so I became a squire. You know, after being a squire, I became a knight. And being a knight, I always also became the assistant horse trainer. So I was doing both at the same time. I only knight and fight and did all the stunts only for 3 years. After that, you know, I always leaned into the horse training, so I became a horse trainer, and then Medieval Times gave me the opportunity to continue to do that. So I think education is very important. Being with horses, you never stop learning. So even up to date right now, I still go to clinics. I still take lessons. As a matter of fact, John Adeline from California, one of the Olympic riders, comes to our barn and gives us lessons at equestrian events.
All right, so your passion for horses had to start when you were little.
That is right.
And you didn't come to Medieval Times not knowing anything. You were, obviously, they saw something in you. So talk about that little boy, that young kid, and where did that passion come from?
Well, it has to be from my dad, and of course, always the support of my mother, you know, always encouraging. We always grew up in a family, not just with horses, but acting, singing. I was a singer when I was a little kid. I still sing, but now I just do it for fun, you know, we do gatherings and do karaoke parties and stuff like that. But I think when you grow up with these, when your mom and your dad always encourage you and then you like it, I think that's the best thing to do for a kid. You know, allow them to do what they like to do. And, you know, you can ask Lisa Dearson where we go to Royal Lusitano. Sometimes we're there from 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock and we haven't eaten anything and we're still working with the horses. But I think you have to have it and the passion has to be there. And it's very important when you pick, for example, I have a lot of students. Some of these students, sometimes they don't have the money or the parents that support them to buy them a nice horse. But it's important to give them the opportunity to have a little taste, and eventually it's not about money, it's about having the passion and having the heart to go and find what you really want in life.
So one of the reasons, or one of the big reasons you're here is because of the Equus Film Festival and your films being shown. So I want you to talk about your film, Medieval Times.
Yeah, well, we have the opportunity to have Medieval Times. We do not just this important documentary, but through all these years, Medieval Times puts us on TV, does a lot of magazines, always doing, you know, promotion. But this time with this documentary of Medieval Times, same thing, gives us the opportunity to show the world how important it is to do what you like, and how important it is to do what you love. And I think if you see our film, you're gonna see a little bit of that, because there is some, like myself, there is other employees of Medieval Times that are there because of the love of being in the show, and it's not just about horses. You're going to see the waitress, the people who works in maintenance, the photo, gift shop, all departments are included in our documentary. So Kathleen did such a good job putting everything together and interviewing people that just started with Medieval Times and people like me that have been with the company for 28 years.
So can you give us a peek inside what a normal day would be like for you when you're doing a show and when you're not doing a show?
Well, I usually start my day at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we start our lessons at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 2. So we do some of the training, and not just horses, but students as well. And then right after that, we take usually a 2-hour break, and then we come back at 4, and then we start practicing jousting, we practice poles, we practice the fights, we practice most of the choreography that goes during the show. So let's say, for example, something didn't go too well yesterday, we get the horse out and we get the rider, and then we always give them pointers, always to improve and to get them better every single day. And then we usually finish, we start pretty much, if it's a regular day in the evening, it's at 7:30, and usually during the summer we have shows every single day. One in the morning at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then the second one is usually at 7:30. And sometimes we have triples in the evening, which is usually 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30.
Well, I had definitely seen Medieval Times, and I know for me it was a really fun thing. But what was it like to be in the opening ceremony at the 2010 World Equestrian Games?
Well, I can't really describe it. It's a feeling. It was very emotional to be there, and being with the horse that I trained. I took the training over. In the beginning, he was trained by one of my students, and now my compadre, Macedo. But after that, I took over the horses training, and when they gave me the opportunity to show the horse at a WEG in 2010, that was one of the best experiences that I had in my life.
And it is one of the best photos I've ever taken of you doing your...
That's right. That is
yeah,
right.
It's a beautiful photo. If people want to find out more about Medieval Times or about Mario Contreras, how do they do that?
Well, with Medieval Times, you just go medievaltimes.com, and you can find information of any castle. It doesn't matter where you are in the country or Canada, in US. And for me, for myself, you can look for me in any of the social medias. Facebook right now is very, very popular, very easy to find me as Mario A. Contreras. And you can also find me on my website, nccoursetraining.com.
So Medieval Times is playing on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, so you can actually see the film, and that would be a wonderful experience because hearing all about it, it's so nice when you can see something in action. And I want to thank everybody here, and thank you, Mario.